Okay, James, we're gonna go over your plantation work, the plantation books that you have done, and you have more than what I have here. This is just what I had when I on hand. Stillbirth of a Nation. I remember this. This is one of my favorite ones because it is not an original work. It is like you annotate and you comment on a public domain book of Peter Williamson, who was one of those Scottish kids that got kidnapped and sent to the plantations to essentially be a slave. Right? So, but what we'll do is I'll focus on the cover here, the illustrations here, right? Stillbirth of a
Those
Nation.
creepy vulture ravens, whatever
Oh,
they
those are
are.
hot. Those are cool.
I mean, that's my favorite piece of plantation art. That's either from Holland or Denmark, and it's showing what happens to people of the lower class if there's so much as discovered having caught a fish or snared a rabbit or plucked an apple that was destined for a pig's snout. Um,
Yeah.
they would you could see the whipping of the woman right here.
Oh,
There's other illustrations that shows them using uh, these like briar branches to whip the women. That seemed to be something that was reserved for women. The whipping a man, it was done with a cat of nine tails, which is a military implement, or in America with a black snakeskin whipstick, which just filleted a guy.
nice.
That would just like rip
Very
you open.
cool. Jeez. And the woman's getting look. All she's getting whacked. The guys are getting hung. Figures.
She might be put to some better use.
It
But I think that is just a great horror
is.
illustration there.
And it's funny too. I
And
know.
tongs are being heated down
Also.
here to brand, okay, the woman who is being whipped.
Yeah. Well, you
Okay?
know what? You shouldn't have stole that apple. Oh, I'm starving. Oh,
And you
that's
can
right.
see the person in charge of it right there.
Yeah. Well, don't take what's not yours, man. So that's what you get.
And very often these were condemned criminals. These were not free men. The people who were
Oh
beating
yeah.
and whipping and
Oh,
killing.
they got to take it out on somebody.
Right.
Yeah. Perfect. Very
So
perfect.
in Plantation, Maryland, executioners who were in charge of torture, they were usually men condemned of a capital crime. They killed somebody. And since they were already cursed, they already had blood on their hands, they would soak up the sin for the
That's
officials.
smart because they're
who
going to
passed
hell
judgment.
anyway.
Yeah.
Wow,
That's very
that's Jesus.
okay.
What a horror show. But in terms of this book, I remember it, Peter Williamson, like I had mentioned before, a very interesting story. Doesn't shy away from when the Delawares turn on the Pennsylvanians. I don't know how else to call them. They do some really horrific torture of their own to some of the people who are mainly like Irish slaves. Of course, the Quakers are safe in Philadelphia and don't want to come out to actually deal with the fact that the Delaware, like they mentioned that they've been turned, and he mentions they've been turned by the French, the duplicitous French, right?
Because the English and the Dutch have been ripping them off.
Yes.
So it made it easy. So the military force in Plantation, Pennsylvania was made up exclusively of the two free classes of men that were there: planters, who owned people,
Right,
and Indians,
Right.
tribesmen.
right,
So if a planter or an Indian was convicted of a crime in Plantation, Pennsylvania, 6 Indians and 6 planters would sit on the jury. So the main job of the Indians was to round up the runaways, so you weren't getting away.
no,
I'm reading William Morley's account right now, and he said there is no way you get away. There was a hot pursuit, and that term hot pursuit that's used for police to this day goes all the way back there to 1729, and the people hunting you down were the Indians.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
so
yeah.
you can't run away into the woods. So the best part of this book for me was when there's a crisis in Philadelphia, the frontier is burning, and at this point Peter has now earned his freedom, and he has lost his wife and his little cabin from these Indians that captured him. And back in Philadelphia, the one remaining loyal Delaware chief tells the leaders that I only have 60 men left. 300 of the other Delawares have been turned, and then there's the other tribes you have to worry about. I can no longer protect you. You have over 20,000 unarmed men
Unarmed, right?
in this city. Give them weapons. They didn't want to do it.
No.
They didn't even want to arm their servants. It was really, and at the same time, in other sources that I found since, Benjamin Franklin and other planters were arguing with military officials under the Crown that they should not be allowed to get servants to volunteer for military duty. So how bad was the servitude? Men were leaving their masters and volunteering with no military experience to join the militia and go out and fight the Indians who had won every battle and were going to kill you.
Right, yeah.
And these guys were like, yeah, sign me up.
Sign me up.
Okay, I'm out of here. I'm done digging for this guy.
The other alternative was if you could somehow get away and get on a ship, and that was a brutal life too, but preferable to that.
That's where the pirates came from.
So like, and there's battles where the militia guys actually win. They get the upper hand. And I mean that torture scene with that one guy. Oh my god, dude! But Peter is fair. He even brings up the legitimate gripes of the Indians in it.
And he dresses up as an Indian, as an old man. He was a broken down drunk, and he was earning money by dressing up as an Indian. Even though he wasn't officially adopted in the tribe, he still had slave status in the tribe before he got away.
Yeah.
There was something about his time with the Indians that he
the guy was really figure. And also, real quick, the way he ended, he brought a lawsuit up against those, I guess, Aberdeen, Scotland merchants,
Scotland, yeah.
And they destroyed him legally, financially, and he ended his days, like you said, as an alcoholic, like a lot of the
only
guys.
reason why he didn't get shipped back into servitude was there were Scottish officers who he had served under in the French and Indian War who took his case to a lord, and the lord was the one that permitted him to stay out of jail after publishing his pamphlet that exposed the whole town of Aberdeen as a place where they would just abduct kids from the back country and sell them into slavery.
Yeah, so this is the book to start with. It will interesting, very very interesting look at America. So all right, cool. Yeah.